Hey, this is Jen, and welcome to the Dropping Keys podcast. This is a space for honest stories, nervous system wisdom, and body based practices that help women stop pushing, performing, and proving their way through life, and to start creating change from the inside out. I am so glad you're here. Let's get started. Well, hello. Welcome to episode 2 of the Dropping Keys podcast. I'm Jen Thomas. And so in episode 1, we talked about the life that I had built before I felt safe, before I even kind of knew what was going on with my body. And I had a lot of survival going on and dysregulation, if you will, that was disguised as success and drive and all the things that society wants out of us. So I had no idea what was going on until my body told me we had to deal with this. And so I just want to let episode 2 just kind of fill out some of the spaces about what happened when I realized my body wasn't broken, right? It wasn't something I needed to fix, which is what I had been trying for years leading up to nervous system burnout. But actually, my body was telling me the truth. So this is not just a list of everything that helped heal me. I want it to be the story of how I stopped treating my body like a problem to solve. And I actually began to learn how to live from the body. Parts were somatic work, breath work, movement, nature, parts work, or internal family systems, as it's also known. Grief, and incredible amounts of surrender. Those all mattered. But the deeper shift was that I stopped trying to change my life from the outside in. And I began rebuilding safety and trust and relationship from the inside out. And that has become the foundation of Rebody. So this episode begins with me coming to terms with having to quit that school job, that full-time job where I noticed the cycles of my body. It wasn't just getting sick. It wasn't an immune system thing. It was a cyclical downshifting without my permission of my nervous system. Sure, it was all tied into, the gut issues that I've been trying to solve for years, the fatigue, the immune systems, and the crashes, and things I just didn't fully understand, and I was trying to handle individually, as we are so often taught to do, or the way that the model, if you will, is even in Western medicine, right? They don't treat the body as an integrated system. It's like you go to this doctor for this, and you go to that doctor for that, and you go to this coach for this. And very rarely are any of those specialists, if you will, or little niches, are they talking about how your nervous system has everything to do with your immune function or your gut, right? So I was trying to fix my body in silos. I kept thinking, maybe this set of supplements. I'm going to tweak my diet a little bit more. I'm going to remove more foods, right? Things that seem to irritate me. Maybe it's the pace of my life. Maybe it's the type of training I'm doing. Maybe whatever was the next thing to fix, I was on it. I was on it. That's how I'd handled my whole body. That was my whole life, rather. That was my pattern. But it was clear at this point I had to face something deeper. This was not just like my body needed better management. I had managed the living hell out of my body at this point. This was a body that had been carrying the impact of my life, right? Which included a lot of stress and a lot of trauma. This was a nervous system that had learned to live only in survival. And this was my body telling a truth about a life I could no longer force my way through. And once I began to see that, I had to stop treating my body like it was the problem. That didn't happen overnight, as I'll talk about, but that is what happened, you know? I had to start to look at my body like, what if what's happening here is not random? What if it's communication? Right? What if the thing I had been trying to control was actually the thing trying to lead me home? And that was the beginning of the return for me. But at first, as you may have been able to hear, I approached healing the way that I had approached everything else. I was going to win at healing. I was going to find the right thing and I was going to do it really well. And I was going to work very hard at it and I was going to be disciplined and I was going to get the result. Yep. And I thought there was a timeline and I thought that if I did all of the healing stuff correctly, then I would heal faster. And yeah, I thought I just tried to apply more effort into this end result, which is funny now because that's the exact pattern that all of what became my healing had to undo. Like I was still trying to use control to find safety, and I was still trying to perform my way into worth. I was still trying to make my body behave so I could go back to being like quote unquote normal, which is kind of ludicrous as I think about it, but I just wanted what was familiar, right? In the normal, I mean like the very dysfunctional version of normal that our culture rewards, which is be highly productive and highly useful and pretty impressive and self-contained and always okay and able to answer the question, oh, what do you do? What do you do? It's the number one question we ask each other. God, I wanted to throw a chair every time somebody said, what do you do? When I was, what do I do? Oh, I sit at home and I'm like healing nervous system burnout and so far from what you consider normal that I can't even begin to explain it. Oh, I wanted to be normal so fucking bad. Which is crazy because that normal had led me to that point of full meltdown, right? But I wanted to get back to life as I knew it. But my body was not interested in me getting back to that life that had made her scream, right? And that was super inconvenient to me, like rude, honestly. But I can see it now. It was also really deeply loving because, like, every time I would try to go back to the old pace, like even a scaled back version of it, my body would be like, nope. I'd be like, look, I'm not going 200 miles an hour anymore. I'm like only going 95. This should be good. My body was like, no, cute girl. This is a 30-mile-per-hour zone. And that pace for somebody who had run at 200 miles an hour my entire freaking life, that pace was brutal. Brutal to go through the school zone, dude. And it was also the medicine because I had to stop asking, like, how do I get back to who I was? And I had to start asking, who am I when I'm not abandoning myself? And so, the first real shift from that point was learning to listen. When I started somatic work, I barely knew what it was, dude. I just knew at that point I was willing to try anything and that there was clearly something going on with my body that likely had to do with, how I was affected as a child. And I didn't know what that answer was. And somatic work seemed to be somewhere in that space. So I started a program online. And one of the first things, it was very systematic. It was a great program. But one of the things that they had you do was they gave you an Excel sheet. And they said, okay, before you start this process, you got to write down as many memories as you can remember and kind of group them together under the emotions that you felt while these were happening. And then when you're remembering this, you're supposed to close your eyes and notice what sensations were present in your body, and then describe the sensation, and then rate that intensity of the sensation. Okay. So it was like mass information gathering. And it was interesting. I had come out of my childhood in a way that I was like, I will not identify as a victim. That's a whole nother episode, but that was the mindset I had. And so I had a lot of memories that were very repressed. I did not remember them. I didn't care to remember them because I had survived them and that was enough. So to even sit down and do this, it began opening up something for me that I wasn't fully prepared for, to be honest. I spent days, like 3 days, like 6 hours a pop doing this, hours and hours, memory after memory, sensation after sensation. And I remember after like day 2 and day 3, because I would be remembering these things and I would feel them and I'd be like crying, right? Like, oh my God, that happened. Oh, that poor, like, I can't believe that happened. And I remember coming out on day 2 and day 3, and I just felt like eviscerated. Like my whole system had just been opened up and like dragged down a gravel road. And I remember saying to my husband when I got done, like, damn, I did not realize how much fear I felt in my childhood. And that was a key because, it's not because it gave me some new idea, it just gave me a new felt reality. My body had been carrying fear for years, and I had been operating out of that space and calling it normal. That's what somatic work began to bring into focus for me. It started to teach me that my body actually had a language, and it had a memory, and it had an intelligence. My body was not just like something that came along for the ride while my mind handled the important stuff, which is definitely how I came into somatic work. Oh no. No, my body was as layered and dimensional and deep and rich and intelligent as my mind could ever be. And once I began this listening process, I began to understand that my body had not been betraying me as I had first kind of viewed all of these symptoms and failings, if you will, in health. No, my body had been protecting me the whole time from day one. And that started to change things for me because you relate very differently to a body that you believe is failing you than a body that you realize has actually been fighting for you. Yeah, it starts to shift. It starts to shift things. And this is something I want to say clearly so the episode doesn't just become some list of, the modalities, because there were many things that helped me come back to myself. Somatic work helped me listen. Breath work helped me access my body and my nervous system in ways that I couldn't before. Parts work, like inner child stuff that helped me stop abandoning younger versions of myself. Nature, helped me, my nervous system, remember what it feels like to soften. One of the only places I could kind of get that sense of relaxed safety was when I was out in nature. Movement, the way I started to approach movement differently, that helped me experience pleasure without performance. That's what we do in one of the cores of every body reset is learn how to move our body without it being for performance. It's a very interesting road. If you've experienced it, allowing grief and feeling grief, that really helped me clear a lot of what my body had been carrying. Surrender. Geez Louise, surrender helped me to stop trying to control my way into safety. But none of these things were like magic because of the technique alone. They mattered because they rebuilt the relationship and they helped me stop treating my body like it was a machine or a project, or like that healing had some end goal and then I'd be good again. They helped me stop treating safety like something that I had to earn. The real work was not do the right thing and then be fixed. The real work was learning how to just be with myself differently. like over and over and over and over again. And like, to be honest, in like tiny, ordinary, very unsexy ways. Like just resting on purpose, not just resting without thinking about the next thing, without my phone near me, without rumination, like practicing how to rest. Yeah, like that may sound simple to you. I dare you to give it a go. Maybe you've already got that one dicked, but honoring when my body said no, like honoring that I had different needs, energetic needs, and than a lot of people had expected of me because we had built relationships on me overriding my needs. So like returning to my body and saying like, God, I just don't have energy for this. So I'm going to have to say no, and having to like, I don't know, sit with the uncomfortableness of people's expectations and my own expectations and my own guilt and shame over that stuff. Episodes, girls, episodes. We got episodes on that to do. Pausing before making decisions, crying without making it productive or shoving it back down, like just crying and letting myself move that emotion. Choosing to move my body and like free movement dance instead of spiraling out in my head, noticing when that was happening and choosing to do something with my body. Just noticing when my mind was trying to solve something that like my body needed to feel instead. Yeah. All of these, I just learned how to let emotions move without letting them drive my life and letting pleasure exist without earning it. Yeah. I'll say that again. I had to learn how to let pleasure exist without earning it and without thinking that there was some end cap to when pleasure was supposed to stop. Like I had this like little 30 minutes. Oh, I'm going to go get a massage and it's going to be pleasurable and it's going to be good. But like one of the deeper shifts was like, what if I just get to feel good? And I don't have to go anywhere to do that. And I could just get to feel good in my body. And it doesn't have to be an assignment. It doesn't have to be a thing I do. What if I just get to feel good? And that was, at least for me, hella challenging. And I would say it's probably challenging for most women. Yeah, that was the work. That was the work. Sure, there were dramatic breakthroughs, and there were big releases, but it was so much more about the relationship and the 1,000 tiny reps and the moment to moment choice to stop leaving myself. Yeah. The perfectly regulated nervous system, if we have an idea that there is such a thing, is that you can still be activated. You can still have those moments, but you notice them and you choose to stay with yourself and not get lost in the pull of the patterns. And so for years and years, I was ultimately trying to help my body feel safe. And I went through a lot trying to do that. And it kind of still remained like a concept, a good concept, a beautiful concept, and a concept I could talk about and I could understand. And I studied a bunch on, and I could even teach it. And I could probably put it in a very nice Canva graphic. But my body, it took a long time for it to know it. And that's the thing about safety, is you can't think your way into it. And you can't mindset your way into it. You can't shame your way or guilt your way into it. You can't force your body to feel safe because you have decided that safety would be convenient now. Thank you very much. I'd like to be safe right now. Thanks. Now, the body learns through experience. It learns through repetition and through a relationship and that consistency, through being met differently again and again and again and again, just like someone showing up for you in your life, right? You showing up for you showing up for those moments and helping the nervous system to feel safe and the body to feel safe. That's like, there has to be enough reps. And for me, after enough reps, I mean, it felt like a million. something shifted. And I remember working with that felt sense of safety. And I do remember the exact moment that I noticed I could feel it in my body. Not as a thought, not as an affirmation, not as I know I should feel safe, but like as a truly felt sensation that I could access. I could actually feel safety move through my body. And for someone who has felt unsafe in their body their entire life, I remember that moment. I'll never forget that moment because I remember thinking, holy shit, I actually did it. And not like, oh, and now I'm perfectly, permanently healed and I'll never get upset again. No, dude, we live on Earth with humans. like, let's not get carried away with that idea. But safety had finally become real in my body, and my body knew the way there now. And that completely changed the place that I was living from. And that's where Rebody came from. This is the bridge you want to make stronger in your life. Okay, but Rebody didn't come from me finding some cool niche. And it didn't come from me thinking like, what would be a marketable offer? Oh no. If you know me, you know that's not where things come from for me. But it did come. The courage I have to bring this forth and speak to it and try to teach it to other women and hold other women and witness them and guide them into this internal sense of safety. That came only from realizing my whole life had changed because I stopped trying to fix the outside of my life and started rebuilding the inside. I stopped trying to perfect every external detail. I stopped trying to perfect my body and my schedule and my job and my food and my workouts and my productivity and my identity and my relationships and what my future looked like and my worth. Like I had spent years trying to change my life from the outside in, which I think all women can identify with that. But that is an endless race to nowhere, my loves. Because when the pattern is still running inside of you, it will simply recreate itself in a new outfit. New job, same nervous system. New routine, same self-abandonment. New body goal, same worth wound. New relationship, same fears. New planner, same overfunctioning. Like rude, but true. Okay. What changed my life was not controlling the outside better. It was changing the place I was living from. Living from felt safety, felt relationship, true levels of what is known as embodiment. I began to live from my truth and my true choices, not reactions, but my response, and true ease. And when the inside changed, then the outside began to reorganize. But not because I forced it, not because I over-efforted it, but was because I was no longer creating from survival. I started creating from safety. That's the heart of Rebody. It's helping women understand what's been running them from the inside so change stops being a war against themselves. So change can become relationship and change can feel like relief. Change that comes from the inside out. I really want women to have the keys to their own cages, which is the part of the title of this podcast. And that's the deeper promise of Rebody is, listen, I know my story may be dramatic in some ways, both given my sensitivity and my childhood was kind of on one end of the spectrum. But these patterns are not unique to that situation or to me. I do not know many women who have not been shaped by a culture that teaches us we are not enough. To be quieter, look better, do more, need less, stay desirable, stay productive. Oh, stay young. That's the newest one. Stay palatable, right? Be successful, but not too much. Be emotional, but not too much. Be strong, but still be pleasing. Oh, yeah, and heal, but do it in a way that doesn't inconvenience anyone. Yeah, good luck with that, babe. Good luck. And so many women are walking around living out like a 5 out of 10 of their lives and then calling it normal. They are tired and disconnected and overthinking and overfunctioning and performing and managing and fixing and deeply trying to become enough. And they think the problem is them, and it is not. It's not that you need more discipline. It is not that you need to try harder. It is not that you need another outside in plan that makes you feel like a personal development raccoon digging through the trash for one more strategy. I believe women need to understand their patterns and their nervous system and their body, and in order to understand what's been running them from underneath this whole time. Because when a woman creates a life from safety instead of survival, everything changes. Your choices change, your relationship changes, your work changes, your creativity changes, your health, your energy, your ability to rest, your ability to be seen, your ability to trust yourself. And not because you forced every detail into place, but because you changed the place you're living from. And that's what I mean by dropping keys. It's not dropping what no longer serves you in some vague, overused Pinterest ass way. it's finding the keys to the cages you didn't even know you were in, and realizing that some of them were inside you the whole time. Yeah, the promise of this work is not that you become some version of perfect. It's not that you become unbothered. And it's not that you float through life in linen, sipping herbal tea, never getting pissed off in traffic. The promise is that life becomes yours, and you stop being run by patterns you didn't choose. You stop making your body the freaking enemy. And you stop performing for safety, and you stop outsourcing your worth, and you stop trying to control every external detail in the hope that one day you will finally exhale. Okay? You learn how to come home. And from there, you create your life differently. And that's what Rebody built on. That's why this work exists. Because I know what it's like to live from survival, and I know what it is to begin creating from safety. And I deeply, deeply want to share this with women so that they know that it is possible. Okay, end of episode 2. Thanks so much for listening. I am so excited and so looking forward to dropping keys, continuing to just connect with you in a myriad of ways. So thanks so much for listening, and we will talk soon.